Hey everyone, happy almost Halloween. I didn't dress up, but apparently you all think I look like Harry Potter 90% of the time anyway. So I don't really have to try, do I? Anyway, as requested by many of you, today's video is about Keith Urban, and I've chosen to talk about a technique that he's used over the years that uses the high E string as a pedal. And for the unaware, I'm not talking about this. A pedal is a musical term which basically means a sustained note with other notes played on top of it. He does this in a couple of recordings which you heard me play in the intro, so that was the solo to Somebody Like You from the Golden Road album and the solo to Good Thing from the Fuse album. He probably has used this in other recordings, so if you know of any, then drop a comment below and let me know, but those are the two that I'm aware of anyway. Both of those songs are in the key of E major, and on the solo to Somebody Like You, what he's doing is basically descending the E major scale on the B string and also picking the high E string, like this. So if you want to apply that to your own playing, you'll want to know what the major scale looks like when played on one string. So here is the E major scale on the B string. And when you add in the high E string, you can get some really cool sounds, like this. Now the song Good Thing, as I've already mentioned, is also in the key of E major, but in the chorus there's a D major chord, which technically doesn't belong to the key, but since D is the flat 7 of E, this means that you can use the E Mixolydian scale for this song, which Keith does. If you don't know any music theory, bear with me because it's really not that confusing at all. Everything I've just said basically boils down to one note that makes the difference between the E major scale and the E Mixolydian scale, and it's the note D. At least in this key, it's the note D. So this is the flat 7 of E. What does that mean? Well, the E major scale has a major 7th interval, and this is the note D sharp. So this note here. So that's the major 7th. So if you flatten that note, meaning lower it by a semitone or 1 fret, it becomes a flat 7th interval. So by replacing the major 7th interval with a flat 7th interval, you now have the E Mixolydian scale, and that looks and sounds like this when played on one string. And when you add in the high E string, it can sound like this. Now don't get me wrong, just because both of those songs are in the key of E major and we're using the high E string as the pedal point, that does not mean that it's only applicable to keys that are either E major or E minor. You can actually apply it to any key that contains the note E. So for example, the key of A major contains the note E because E is the 5th note in the A major scale. So you could play the A major scale on the B string or the G string, any string for that matter, and also be using the high E string simultaneously as a pedal point, which would sound like this. To finish up these videos, I always like to include a couple of licks that demonstrate the use of the technique that I've been teaching so that you can hear how it can be used in songs other than the recordings that you may have heard it on. So with that being said, I'm going to do just that, but before I do, as always, if you struggle to understand any of the music theory terms that I was throwing around earlier, and you want to be able to understand and apply music theory to the guitar in ways that are both practical and effective. Check the link in the description below for a 50% off coupon for my online course, Bulletproof Guitar Player. Anyway, lick number 1 is in E major, but the progression has a D major chord, so it uses the E Mixolydian scale with that flat 7 interval I was talking about earlier. Here's what it sounds like. And slowed down, it sounds like this. Lick number 2 is in A major, and instead of playing the scale on the B string, the first few notes are played on the G string, but still using the high E string as the pedal. Here's what it sounds like. And here's lick number 2 slowed down. Alright, that does it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have suggestions for guitar players that you'd like me to do videos on in the future, let me know by dropping a comment below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and click subscribe for more.